Hello, friends. Picture this scene. January 29, 2026. Sergei Lavrov stands in front of the microphones, calm as ever, with that signature half smile, and says, Moscow has no knowledge of any security guarantees the United States is supposedly preparing for Ukraine after the war. And if those guarantees aim to preserve the current regime in Kyiv, even on just a sliver of territory, then forget about any compromise. We will never agree to that. Because these aren't just words. This is another loud shot in the diplomatic game that's been dragging on for years. Why right now, when the media is buzzing about an almost deal in Abu Dhabi, about Trump being this close to brokering peace, about secret meetings? It's no coincidence. It's a deliberate signal. Russia isn't backing down. Today, I'm going to break it all down, piece by piece. Why Lavrov's statements aren't mere rhetoric, but the real key to understanding the Kremlin's entire strategy. If you want to know why peace feels so close and yet so impossibly far away, don't switch off. This is going to be brutally honest, full of real examples, everyday analogies, and no sugarcoating. Stay with me to the end. I promise you won't regret it. Let's start with exactly what Lavrov said today. He stressed, Russia hasn't received any official information about American security guarantees for Ukraine. But if those guarantees involve keeping the current government, that is, Zelensky and his team, as the legitimate authority over any part of the country, Moscow categorically blocks it. Instead, he pulls the 2022 Istanbul talks out of the archive again as the only real option. Quick reminder of the key points discussed back then. Neutral status for Ukraine, no NATO membership, severe limits on the armed forces of Ukraine, special status for Donbass and Crimea, security guarantees from several countries, including Russia, ban on foreign military bases and exercises without consent of all parties. Lavrov claims it was almost agreed until Boris Johnson flew to Kyiv and forbade signing. Classic Russian narrative. We were ready for peace, but the West sabotaged it. Now, let's be straight. Why does Lavrov keep coming back to this story like a scratched record? It's not nostalgia, it's strategy. Russia's position hasn't budged 1 millimeter since 2022. They still demand de facto capitulation, demilitarization, neutrality, regime change, or at least total control over it, recognition of occupied territories. Everything else is window dressing. Lavrov uses Istanbul as the perfect template to say, this is what we offered, you refused. Now it will be worse. It's like in a family argument. One partner keeps repeating, I told you so back then, to make the other feel guilty. But the real context matters most. These words land exactly when Trump is aggressively pushing his grand deal idea. Rumors swirl about meetings in Abu Dhabi and elsewhere. Kirill Dmitriev's name pops up again. He allegedly passed a peace plan through American intermediaries, Witkow, Kushner, etc. Almost in sync with Lavrov. Peskov reminds everyone, Zelensky can come to Moscow for direct talks with Putin. No intermediaries needed. This is not random. It's a coordinated campaign to keep everyone on edge. Let's break down point by point why Russia clings so fiercely to negotiations without changing its stance. Point 1. Trump. Donald Trump wants to be remembered as the peace president. He promised to end the war in 24 hours, then a week, then very quickly. Putin knows this and exploits it. As long as the illusion persists that we're this close to a deal, Trump holds back on drastic moves, massive new sanctions packages, unleashing long-range weapons, ATACMS without range limits, unrestricted Storm Shadow, Taurus, etc. Russia is genuinely terrified of exactly that. Imagine Ukrainian missiles hitting the Kerch Bridge again, oil depots deep in the rear, airfields. That would cripple logistics. Without the American green light, Europe also hesitates to supply the most powerful systems. So negotiations serve one purpose: keep Trump in the mindset of, maybe we can still make a deal. Every day without new sanctions or long-range missiles is a win for Moscow. Point 2. Europe. Frozen Russian assets exceed $300 billion. Ukraine has long demanded they be confiscated and redirected to weapons and reconstruction. But while the negotiation process continues, Trump-aligned American politicians pressure Europeans. Don't rush. This could derail the talks. Moscow dreams of getting that money back, or at least part of it, after a peace agreement. Every month of dialogue is a month those assets remain untouched. Point 3. Time and exhaustion. This is the cruelest part. While diplomats swap pieces of paper, Russia keeps going. Massive strikes on energy infrastructure, another winter with blackouts across regions. Slow but steady advances on the front, especially Donbass. Terror against civilians, drones, missiles, artillery on cities. The Kremlin believes, sooner or later, Ukraine and the West will tire out. Society will say enough. Politicians will look for an exit. And then Kyiv will accept terms that currently seem unacceptable. Lavrov spells those terms out clearly. No guarantees that preserve the current government and its anti-Russian course. In other words, capitulation, regime change, or puppetization, recognition of facts on the ground. And here's the climax of this game, the invitation for Zelensky to come to Moscow. Peskov says it almost simultaneously with Lavrov. This isn't trolling or a joke. It's genuine conviction that Zelensky will eventually mature, or that refusal gives grounds to ramp up pressure and show the world, see, they don't want peace. Classic KGB tactic. Invite someone for a talk that's really an interrogation. If you show up, you sign what they put in front of you. If you don't, means you're not broken yet, so we keep breaking. Delegations keep meeting, but only on technical issues, prisoner exchanges, humanitarian corridors, grain deal 2.0, etc. The political decision rests solely with Putin, and it's singular: unconditional capitulation of Ukraine, control over its government, revenge for the failed 2022 blitzkrieg. My personal take, and I say this as someone who's followed this from day one, don't buy the fairy tales about peace is just around the corner. Pay attention only to official statements from Lavrov, Peskov, Putin. Everything else is smoke to calm the West and buy time. Right now, Ukraine critically needs to strengthen the front as much as possible, pressure partners for unrestricted long-range weapons, prepare the economy for a long war, not relax because of negotiation illusions. Russia isn't playing for compromise. It's playing for victory through exhaustion. And so far, that plan is working better than we'd like. Friends, what do you think? Do you believe Trump can actually break through this wall and force Putin into real concessions? Or is this just dragging things out until the West gets tired? Write honestly in the comments. Your thoughts really matter. Hit like if this breakdown was helpful. Subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. There will be plenty. The situation changes daily. Victory to Ukraine, endurance to us all, and real peace, not the paper kind. Good luck. See you soon.